Hi everyone. My name is Krista D'Amato, and I am a graduate student in the user experience concentration of the MBS program. So I've been asked to be interviewed, so that's what I'm doing. I'm doing my leadership interview, talking a little bit about my experiences and who I am. So, like I said, I'm a grad school student in the MBS program, user experience design concentration. Currently, I'm working at a tech company called iSIMS, located in Homedale, New Jersey, and I work on the design team within the marketing department. So I handle a lot of the internal and external designs. I'm trying to branch into user experience and work on some website work for our web properties. So that includes like our corporate site, our career site, any sort of marketing resource that we use on the web. So that's a little bit about me and what I'm doing currently. Like I graduated from Rowan University and I majored in advertising and art. And while I was there, I was very involved. I was the president of the advertising club, and I took some graphic design courses because that's really what I wanted to do. And then I graduated from there and went into the city to work at a social media agency where I went from a designer to a design manager very quickly, just because it's a startup, and you tend to excel kind of quickly and move pretty quickly up, which is kind of nice. It got me a lot of really great experience. And then from there, I started my career at iSIMS. So I would just like to answer a few questions that gives you a little bit more insight about me and some of my aspiring leadership techniques, as I'm not quite a leader yet, but as an aspiring leader, I'd like to answer some questions. So first one is, what advice do you have for a future leader in your field? I think this is a really interesting question and kind of fun to answer, as I would like to hopefully be that future leader. And I think as far as advice and what I've seen in successful leaders within my organization is a leader is really somebody who listens. They're somebody that can often get a group together and get a group excited about a project. If there's a tight deadline, a leader can get everyone in a room, talk them through it, and have them leaving feeling motivated, determined, and really driven to produce success. So I'd say for a future leader, it's just really all about driving your people. You really want to make sure that your people are driven, they're motivated to come to work every day, that they know that you care about them on a personal level, not just work related. You invest interest in their personal life, things they do outside of work. You value that they do have that external atmosphere that they have to deal with when they leave work every day, and you care about them and you care about what that is. And it's just kind of like that human connection from like a connection standpoint. You want to make sure that you have that with your employees, with your colleagues, with really everyone that you come in contact with. So my next question is, what are 3 key challenges you face as a leader? I would say, so I'm going to put myself into the position of leading a project, which I've done quite a few times. So some key challenges with leading a project, so 3, I would say. First one is communication. Second is getting everyone in a room. And third probably would be not fully being not fully having transparency into your expectations. So first, for communication, I'd say communication is always kind of a challenge, especially when there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen. So I think that's definitely a huge challenge, and can hopefully be solved, or at least tried to be solved, by getting people in a room, which ironically is my second challenge, because that's also a very hard thing. Everyone has very conflicting schedules. Getting everyone in a room where so-and-so's not running late, this person who's really important can't make it, and then you have to loop these people in on a separate note, and they're not hearing the interactions that the group is having. It's really hard not to have full transparency into the entire project, and I mean, I guess in ways it's very difficult, but having all those people in the room, and even if they're in the room, having them mentally in the room can be really, really challenging. And then my third was expectations. So sometimes when you, or at least when I lead a project, there are a few levels above me before we get to the person whom the expectations lie. So, for example, if our chief marketing officer is asking us to um, create a website, which we just recently did, there is my manager and my director who are getting in a room with her and getting her expectations, trying to understand what she's looking for, and then they're coming and they're dispersing that information to us in a meeting, post their meeting with the chief marketing officer. So it's a lot of communication, it's a lot of telephone, so it's often can be a little bit skewed, and when you're not hearing it directly from the source, you kind of question whether the expectation is being met, even though you know you're meeting your manager and your director's expectation, but the overall expectation is coming from that higher level management role. So I think that's definitely a challenge as well. So, what is the one key skill you believe will be key for all future leaders to possess, and what might be some ways to develop a skill today? So, I think like a really important skill for future leaders to possess is adaptability, which I guess is more of a trait. Um, Adaptability, empathy, I think is really, really huge, and then the willingness to learn. So I think adaptability. Your environment's always going to be changing. Your industry is always going to be changing. Technology is really taking over, and we really have to stay on top of it. And I think I've seen, or maybe I haven't seen, but I've heard, especially in the design field, I've heard from various people that they have friends who they went to school with, or who were print designers, or who were who were painters, or who just were people that weren't staying up to date with what was happening with technology, and their skills were there, but their business was becoming obsolete. And that just really has to do with making sure that you're staying on top of where the industry is going. So I think just being that forward-thinking person, and making sure that you're following up on technology, you're being adaptable, you're not, when change comes your way, you're not negative and saying, oh, how are we ever going to do this? Have that positive attitude. It's really, really important, because adaptability is something that I feel like a lot of organizations are looking for in their employees. So I think the second one I have is empathy. Empathy, I think, is so, so incredibly important. Being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes. I recently had a training on the difference between empathy and sympathy, and there's actually a very large difference, where empathy is putting yourself in someone else's shoes, where sympathy is feeling sorry for someone. And it's interesting when you put it that way, and it's interesting where you can say, I feel really badly that this person has to work on this horrible project. Like, I'm sorry, but they still have to do this for me. So you're having sympathy for them and for their situation, but you're not putting yourself into their shoes. Whereas if you had empathy towards the situation, you'd say, I'm really sorry that they have this project with this really tight deadline. I know I have something that I would like to get done also. Let me reach out to them and really see what's going on and help them prioritize my project with what they've got going on. I get it, and you know what, like, I understand that they have a million tasks to do, and I just want to make sure that they know that I value them and that I understand what they're going through, because I'm sure when I'm in that situation, I would want them to feel the same. So that's kind of, I think, a really important skill that not everyone has, and I think it's something that is very, very relevant and significant. And then I think, what did I say the last one was? I said empathy. Oh, and I said being a learner. I think being a learner is so incredibly important, and why I think that is because there's so many people who are stuck in their ways, and they're very content and comfortable doing things the way that they've been doing it for years and years and years. And it's kind of funny, we ran into something similar to that today at work, actually, where we are creating thank you landing pages. So essentially, when a user or somebody we are sending an email out to, we're trying to get them to take a survey. So we send them to a Click Tools survey, which is basically an organization we use to create our survey. And they complete the whole survey. We brand the survey, so we have some templates that do that. So the design team brands them. And then once they click that submit button, at least from what I understand, they're sent to another page that just says, thank you. Thank you. Please contact us if you have any questions. And we've been doing this for years, and we don't really know why we're doing this. And like I said, I'm assuming that's the interaction that's happening, but we're not 100% sure. And via email, it was kind of, the conversation was like, oh, we've been doing this for a really long time. We're doing this for the past year. And it's like, okay, well, is that what we should be doing? Or are we just kind of, falling into the monotony of the task at hand that we've just been handling the same way for the past few years? Is that the right thing we should be doing? Should we be looking at something different? Is that the best user experience? So it's just always having that mentality and not just getting the task done to get it done and doing it the same way because we've done it that way. Well, things are different, and that doesn't mean that because we've done it for 3-4 years in a row that it's the right way, it's the best way. So I just think having that mentality is extremely important. And then I have a few other questions and some questions I asked some of the people I interviewed, which was, who do you go to for that 911 call, or when you're having issues at work, or you need quick advice? Is there any person in particular that you go to rely on that advice, somebody you trust? So for me, I would say that person is my best friend, Kristen. So anytime, and I think a lot of it has to do with she's in a very similar career as I am, I guess. And she works within brand, and she works at a similar company that I do in tech. And I just feel like if I explain something to her about what's happening in the organization, or if I need advice about how to approach career growth with my manager, she's so great at giving advice, and she really hears you. She empathizes with you, and she tries to help you through it. She's literally the best person to talk to about anything. She's really, really amazing. And I actually recently called her over something, which is hard, is kind of having not feeling the difference, but really the difference between work or letting emotions get involved in work. And I know there's these things where people are keep emotions out of it. This is your work. You get your work done and you leave, and don't take things personally. And I think that's true to an extent, but I think as humans, we are emotion driven. If we care deeply about our work and what we do every day, which I would hope we do, we are going to have those emotions associated with work, or with how people are making you feel at work, and whether you feel valued and things like that. And I called her just to talk through how I was feeling. And I think to people that don't fully understand it, it's kind of that's just what you have to do, and that's it, and that's just how it goes. And it's not as, they're not as I guess cognizant of your feelings and how you can potentially approach the situation differently. And I think for that reason, she's such a good career coach, personal development coach. She's just my best friend and my coach with everything. She's the best. So other than that, I think I am all out of questions. I'm really excited to hear what everyone else in the class has to say. It's been a really great semester so far, and I really enjoyed these interviews because I think they've shed a lot of insight into management and how it really is. It's a difficult thing, and I think we hold our managers and our directors and our leaders responsible for so much, and we have to also think about how difficult that must be. It's not an easy role to have, and I think we say, and I know I'm guilty of it too, so-and-so could be better at this, they should be doing this, and I'm feeling this way. And you know what, they're managing a lot of people, a lot of projects, a lot of situations, and I think sometimes cutting them some slack is helpful, and just be very mindful of everyone and everyone's current situation, while also making sure that you're taking care of yourself. So thank you very much. Looking forward to hearing what everyone has to say.